Hello and welcome to another episode of The Brothers Discuss. I am Alex.
And I'm Chris.
Happy New Year, everybody. But there isn't much to celebrate. We have some discussions to have. We're like your parents sitting you down. We got to tell you what happened because this is it's historic for sure. One of the most famous and oldest studios to ever exist is no longer the same. And granted, things like this have happened before, but this feels pretty significant for a number of reasons. So, the story is Warner Brothers has been up for purchase for a couple of months now. There's been a lot of companies that have entered discussions and exited discussions, and I guess at the time of our recording, we will admit right now, by the time you listen to this, the story could have changed a little, or it'll be totally finalized or what have you. So, at the time of our recording, it appears that Netflix are the ones to be purchasing Warner Brothers Discovery, which is an odd. I mean, it's not an odd purchase. Like, if I'm Netflix, I guess I would also want to own one of the biggest studios in Hollywood, but it's just an odd situation for people like us who follow film, who love going to cinemas. Like, this is going to be a very interesting time moving forward after I have seen countless Netflix films in theaters in the past couple of years that like the random accessibility to some of their films. You know, it's like David Fincher's two most recent films. I saw those in cinemas, and it's going to be odd moving forward. Like the future of HBO Max, the future of AEW. Like there's so many different things to look at with Netflix purchasing Warner Brothers that will change a lot of entertainment. So, what are your thoughts, Chris?
Yeah, I was nervous at first because it was just, I don't know, Netflix buying a big studio like that, it just raises a lot of red flags, but I was willing to give it the benefit of the doubt just because I know Netflix does theatrical releases. And, even though they're short windows, like they're usually, pretty good hits in theaters. But then I heard how short some of these windows could be.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm not for this at all.
Yeah, so I
If you
guess
want to go there.
what you're talking about is a more recent development that came out recently, where the allegedly Warner Brother under Netflix, the theatrical window, whenever this happens, it looks like it'll be a 17-day release window. So
Hmm.
presumably that would include all the big Warner Brothers franchises. Like, I mean, we don't have a whole lot of information on what that means or what that includes or if that's genuinely real. But that's the current rumor right now is that Netflix wants a 17-day release window for The Batman Part 2 and Dune Messiah. Like that's the things people jump to, right? It's like, "Oh god, what does that mean?" Like which right off the bat that sounds horrible. Like, "Oh, just a little over 2 weeks to see a film is not a good strategy," I would argue.
Yeah, I would say like I kind of get the thinking behind it because it's like the first 2 weeks, generally speaking, like that is your more popular, release window or just you know people watching movies. That's usually when you get the most admits for a movie, but still, like there's still plenty of people that see it after that window. So like I don't see how that's good whatsoever. There's no harm in keeping it past 17 days.
Right. Yeah. I mean, what this makes me think of is back when Disney bought Marvel, where, I was younger back then when that happened, and the discussions that we would have were like, does that mean, like, the Disney castle is going to be playing in front of, like, the Avengers movie? Like, we didn't know, like, what that really ultimately meant. But what we do know is that IMAX uh, through 2029 has contracts to play like Warner Brothers movies through 2029. So there's so many contracts in place like that can't be broken yet. So it's gonna take a while before like a lot of this like it goes into place. Like when people sign contracts to these things, like you have to consider certain filmmakers, certain actors will sign contracts, sometimes years before a film has actually been released in cinemas. So if you consider that that is in place, a certain time frame that a film has to be in cinemas, it's not going to be an overnight change. It's not going to be a snap of the fingers in terms of everything just being in cinemas for 17 days and then straight to Netflix. Like, I mean, remember when Black Widow was put on Disney Plus, and that created an entire lawsuit and situation because, and the thing at the time was like, oh, Scarlett Johansson is suing Disney because she can't get more millions. It's like, well, no, she's making sure that this stuff doesn't happen again because all these actors and everyone that works on these movies have contracts based around theatrical releases. So you remove that, and suddenly, hang on, wait a second, where's our money? You're like, we signed a thing, and this almost screams loophole to it. So there's just so much about this stuff that we don't know. But I understand the fear because of the way like the CEO of Netflix talks and things like that part are scary. I mean, I should say that the co-CEO, Ted Sarandos, like he is the person that will make all these comments, such as like, my pushback has been mostly in the fact that, of the long exclusive windows, which we don't think are really that consumer friendly. Like talking about films being in cinemas for long periods of time, like how that's not user friendly, giving people a long period to go out and see a film. I mean, the way he's trying to structure that is that it's more friendly if you could just watch it from your bed or from your couch, which I can understand. But his constant talk of this is the way cinemas are going to be moving in the future. Like this is what we've been shown. I mean, in my opinion, like you have to take a 2 year period out of that because you look back to 2018, 2019. It's like so many films were making a lot of money. Like in 2019, the top 10 highest grossing films of the year, I think 9 of them made over $1 billion or something like that, which is absolutely insane to think how far we've dropped from that. As I've been looking into the box office this year, like I thought we had a very successful summer. Like Warner Brothers in particular had one of their best summers in a long time. I mean obviously films like Barbie were really huge, but in terms of several films making profit, like release after release after release, Warner Brothers currently have been doing very well in the stocks after not looking so great earlier in the year. I mean, they've shot up after a very successful 2025 film release schedule. So then to think that David Zaslav, who has paid an obscene amount of money, has improved the company financially and is then handing it over essentially, like I mean it's getting bought, but essentially giving it to a company that will absolutely disrupt that, like corporate business to this degree. Like again, we can't really talk about this in the most eloquent of ways because we don't work in that type of field. Like there will be people who will speak about this in a far more in-depth manner and a more understanding manner than we can. But when we view this as people who are heavily involved in films in terms of talking about it, in terms of going to see films and loving films, it really makes me scratch my head how someone like that can hand the company over after it's had a very successful year and has shown that the old business model, if you can call it that, for Warner Brothers releasing their films in cinemas, like the fact that films like Sinners or like Weapons can be successful along with something like Minecraft or Superman. Like I don't think the world is ready to we're just watching everything on Netflix now, and this is what Warner Brothers tried. They tried this back in 2021 with putting everything on HBO Max and in cinemas on the same day. Like it's wild to think a film like Dune was released on the internet on the same day as it was in theaters. But that's what happened, and it didn't help them, so they went back to this business model immediately. So, yeah, I don't like this news. Let's get into some movie talk.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so I guess we'll just briefly talk about some highlights of the year in terms of film and TV. So I guess I'll kick things off. Like it's an odd year to talk about. Like I think it was a stronger year overall than 2024. I think going into maybe the award season that took place last year, like there was this feeling of maybe 2024 wasn't the strongest year of film. But at the same time, I think this past year, it's been fun to see films from filmmakers that I like a lot, and then really great films from filmmakers who were either first-time filmmakers or had work that was less famous. Yeah, so what about you?
Yeah, I think generally speaking, there's not really many movies I could think of this year that I just straight up didn't like. There's a lot of highlights for sure, and we'll talk about a big one pretty soon. But um, yeah, just in terms of like some of my favorites that I don't think we've talked about yet. Have we talked about Frankenstein yet?
We have not, and that's a Netflix film that was released in theaters briefly. So
That's true.
that's a great movie. I mean, One Battle After Another is probably my favorite film that has come out this year.
I think it's right up there for me. Yeah.
I alluded to it earlier, but Weapons is great. And I guess another another story I feel we should probably mention is things like the Oscars going to YouTube in a few years' time. And you know, I think of the Oscars as something that's kind of a prestigious event for a really really big, industry and entertainment, and it just being on YouTube, and it's already the thing of like influencers get invited to these things and they get to walk the red carpet. It feels weird to me that that's what these kind of events have become. Or they'll interview, actors and filmmakers about stuff that they have no idea what they're talking about. But I don't know, maybe I'm thinking all negatively about this stuff. Maybe I'm not as excited about the future of the industry just in terms of how generalized certain things have become. And it makes me draw towards some of the smaller stuff, which I guess was the big highlight of 2025 for me, some of the indie stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think I went into this year really excited for a film that I was disappointed by. Like, I guess early in the year, I really liked Mickey 17, but I think I was maybe expecting something else from the movie. I mean, rewatching it the last week of the year, it was good to have a decent amount of separation from it, because this time I was like, yeah, this is really strong. This is a really strong movie, and it's in my top 10 of the year at the moment. But I still have plenty of other 2025 films to see, and things get knocked off the list. But that's just the way that goes. I mean, you talk about the quality of the year. I normally wait until the very end of the year or early into the following year to post my favorites of the year that we had just passed. But this year, I made that list public on Letterboxd for everyone to see, because I felt there was a lot of quality stuff, and it was changing a decent amount. So in a weird way, it gives. I don't know who's looking at the list. I imagine no one's really keeping up to date with my top films of the year list. But in my mind, it's like, oh, I'm giving some sort of recommendation, I guess, to this film before it gets knocked off. It's like Obama, this is my list of the year. I mean, Obama gets more he gets to see films a little quicker than I get to. Like, I still haven't seen Marty Supreme, for instance.
Oh, yeah. I'd check it out. I saw it.
Oh, cool. Another part of the problem is that, a film like the Lilo and Stitch remake, or, the remake of How to Train Your Dragon, these films made the studio's money, a ton of money. I mean, we'll discuss the MCU a little later, but I think when I see people generalize, I was sort of meaning this earlier when I was talking about Netflix as well. They are a decent example of now putting out a lot of different stuff, and it makes me wonder, why does Netflix want to release a film like Train Dreams, which is another great film, because that was a very quiet, dramatic film, and I think a lot of Netflix's ideas are that they want to put out stuff that people don't go pause, go look for something else, watch that instead. They want to put out Stranger Things. They want to put out stuff that will, stop people changing the channel in the modern sense of pausing what they're watching to watch something else. They don't want people switching out of their service because they've made it so easy to do that. If you're not liking a film, you could just watch something else that's on there. You don't even have to change the channel, so to speak, so you just stay on the streaming service. So I guess on that note, we have a Netflix film that we're going to talk about in depth. As we hinted at earlier, we have both seen Wake Up Dead Man, and of course, we did see it in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
This is yet again a Rian Johnson Knives Out film, a Benoit Blanc story, kind of like Star Wars. I mean, Star Wars gets a drop in this movie.
That's true.
What are your thoughts on Wake Up Dead Man?
It's great. I love it as much as the other two ones, and yeah, there's so much to talk about, because this is definitely, of the three, a much deeper, very thematical movie, and coming right off the bat with Josh O'Connor's character, which I'll go and say he's probably my favorite character in all three of these movies. He's excellent in the movie. He's so good. Um, yeah, we'll talk about it a lot, but just general thoughts. Like I think it's I love how thematical it is. I love the performances as always are great. Daniel Craig, even though he's not in it as much, he's still really great as Blanc. Um, and yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, and I also thought it was a very very good film. Again, I like that all three of the Knives Out films are not only different types of films, but they're very different mysteries, which I like.
Mhm.
And the role that Benoit Blanc plays in all three of these is quite different. And this, the way it dealt with people's beliefs and the advantages that can be taken of those, like the way that it deals with religion and people's place within it is very fascinating. And I thought it was a great film. Like, I mean, I know people can be hot and cold on some of these films. I mean, I think people are incredibly positive about Knives Out and Wake Up Dead Man. Like, I know with Glass Onion, it seems to be that people were a little more mixed on that, and then you look at it, like the Rotten Tomato score, both from the critics and the audience, like they're both in the 90s,
Yeah.
and you go, oh well, people really like this film, and granted that is the one that people will talk down about the most, and I know for me, I rank it third of these films, but if I'm ranking them, but that one also does the interesting thing, in my opinion, of you are essentially looking at this kind of like Elon Musk like tech, kind of people, and people that go against the grain, and one's trying to become a politician and one's trying to become like an internet celebrity, and you're looking at these people who don't know how shitty they're being to society, and just
Yeah.
see themselves as above the people because of their financial sitting. And it's interesting with this one because you deal with a different group of people who are essentially following this one guy, Monsignor Wicks, that Josh Brolin plays. When it comes to seeing this with an audience, I mean, our crowd was laughing a lot throughout the film, but something that I realized is that there were two people who were laughing during the film, and then they did not laugh at any of the jokes at the expense of anything religion based.
Hmm.
Like a joke in the film that made me laugh a lot was Monsignor de Jalapeno that Benoit Blanc says at one point, like, got an absolutely huge laugh out of me, but absolute silence from the two people, because when the film ended, I was like, that was really really funny. And there's absolutely an audience that maybe they'll view those people in particular, like, might view this respectfully because the hero of the film is a priest. Like, that's the person that you side with the most. And there's an absolutely fantastic scene where he's trying to get information from a construction company about the tomb, essentially, where Monsignor Wicks is, he is going to be placed to rest next to his father. And he's trying to get information out of this person on the phone about, like, when that was set up. And he's trying to get this information out of her. So, but then she wants to talk to him, Father Judd, because her sister or something like that, like her mother, is really sick, and it reminds him of his purpose. And as he's getting sucked into the game that Benoit Blanc has of, like, solving the crime, where he has to solve the crime no matter what, he was losing focus of his calling, so to speak. And you hear the audience, like, laughing a lot throughout that scene, and then it gets serious, and then you the audience are also reminded of what Father Judd should be doing in terms of what he wants to do in terms of his calling. And I thought that scene was absolutely fantastic. And on top of that, you have how people, like, you see how people manipulate religion or what they believe they should be doing with their lives. And people who have power absolutely take advantage of that, and then people who hold a secret also take advantage of that. And it just makes for a good mystery.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with what you said, where it's like, it's definitely... All right, so from what I understand, Ryan Johnson, he didn't grow up Catholic, but he did grow up Christian, and he stopped believing at a certain points. And so, like, you can tell, like, he's got a fair amount of criticism about, Christianity and that belief, and he expresses that through Blanc, who's pretty atheist in the movie. But like it's so fascinating. He talks about those criticisms in a way where it doesn't like belittle the idea or belittle the
Yeah.
belief. Because yeah, like you were saying, it's like Judd is the main character of the movie. Even though Blanc is in all three of these have a different main character pretty much. And yeah, like he's protecting the church in a very, I mean, so is Wicks, but they're doing it obviously in different ways and different reasons. Wicks is a lot more selfish, obviously, and more cruel, and Judd kind of wants to change that and reshape that. And it's great. I mean, you're following him, and it's really traumatic, like everything he goes through, and yeah, it's really good. My one complaint, and I think this is just a personal thing. I doubt like anyone that watches this is going to think the same way, but I just didn't think the mystery element of it was as engaging as the other two. Like I felt like I was always like 5 steps ahead of the movie. Like not many of the twists or reveals kind of shocked me the way that it might have in Knives Out or Glass Onion. But I think
I mean, I guess we can go and just get into spoilers real quick.
yeah.
I mean, well, fuck it. We'll just say like Cruella Deville, she did it. Like the fact that and Hawkeye, Hawkeye, he helped, and the Sandman,
Yeah.
um, he was a victim. God damn it, he didn't do anything. The Sandman, that poor bastard. He was trying to help his daughter. He couldn't do it, and he got stabbed by Hawkeye, that evil man. But anyway, sorry. Continue.
Yeah. So it's not like any of it's bad or anything, but like it just didn't
Mm,
really surprise me as much as I thought, or I think the movie thought it would. Um, but it's fine because this is a much more narrative driven Knives Out movie. It's not necessarily like too involved in the mystery. It's got a deeper purpose than that. So like it doesn't bother
yeah,
me too much, but like that, and I'm sure it won't bother most people that watch it. I don't know if it's just I'm getting used to these by now, or like I've kind of figured out how they work, but uh, that's my only thing that I could really think of.
sure. Well, I mean, the first film essentially shows you how the murdered person dies. Like we see that as the mystery is still unraveling around it, because obviously there's a lot more that comes out later in the story with Chris Evans and so forth. But we essentially see the death of the character in the film. During Glass Onion, we also see the death of Batista during the film, but obviously there's another death that also happened before that causes the events of the film. In this one, we see the death without actually seeing what happened. So we see at the very beginning of the film that Benoit Blanc is reading the notes that Father Judd has written. And I mean, we see what we think is like the dead man waking up and breaking out of his tomb. And it's like, there's all this mystery around that. Like, what did he really see? And I thought that stuff was really interesting because I think it's fair to think that Glenn Close had something to do with it. But again, it's like, you're just wondering throughout like the extent of the film, like of like what really happened. Like what's the actual story here? Like we see a scene where, the dead body of Josh Brolin is being wriggled around by Benoit Blanc. So you are essentially shown that he is indeed dead. So this isn't literally wake up dead man. That there has to be something else at play here. But yeah, it's like you're still left wondering, like, is he alive? Like, what happened? Like, what was the dead body I was seeing? So it's cool that you have mysteries within the mystery, like a donut with its own hole. It's like it's interesting how this Ryan Johnson unravels this before our eyes. And again, I was very hooked in personally. I thought it was fantastically done. But I do actually have a one little criticism. It's so Jeffrey Wright shows up at the beginning of this movie, and I wish he was in this whole movie because there was a moment where at the end where Jeffrey Wright and Daniel Craig are together, and I had a sort of gasp. It's like, oh, Felix Leiter, he's back. like it was like one of those excited gasps of seeing them standing there together. Like no one else reacted, of course. I stood and clapped. I didn't really do that, but I. It's essentially how Marvel wants me to react with Doomsday, which we may talk about in a little bit. But I was happy to see Jeffrey Wright and Daniel Craig standing side by side. It got me thinking, like it's surprising out of the 5 Bond films, we saw them together in 3 different films.
Yeah.
Like the reveal that he's playing a Felix Leiter, like Jeffrey Wright in Casino Royale, it's such a great moment. Like especially when you know the character from the books or the previous films, and yeah, just seeing them together. Like I had the moment of like, look at them together. That's great. But in seriousness, I would say the negative of the film was Mila Kunis. I did not think she was particularly good in this as the cop.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. She doesn't. I mean, she's got a lot of screen time, but like she doesn't really add too much to the movie, I feel like.
Anyway, I thought this was a really strong film, and I think I know the answer to this already, but I wanted to ask you this. Do you have a ranking of the sidekick to Benoit Blanc? Like, essentially we have Ana de Armas in Knives Out, we have Janelle Monáe in Glass Onion, and now we have Josh O'Connor, who's great in this film. Do you have a ranking of where you'd put them as characters? Because these 3 are sort of the leads of the 3 films, though I think it's more Blanc in the second one.
Yeah. I think in terms of the sidekicks, yeah, it would go Josh O'Connor, Ana de Armas, Janelle Monáe, but I love all 3 of them. I love seeing what happens through their eyes. It's so much fun. And they're all different too, which is great.
I mean, I guess it's same thing, 3-1-2 for me, but in saying that, I think Ana de Armas is great in Knives Out. In a similar way to Josh O'Connor in this film, like you connect with her story like really easy, whereas I guess there's a little bit of, well, I guess in the first 2 films, there's almost not a supernatural, like, I mean, that's the wrong word, but there's a heightened reality aspect to the first 2 where Marta, Ana de Armas' character, throws up every time she lies. It's not exactly a real thing. Like, maybe there's something that happens in real life. I don't know. I don't study medicine. But she throws up every time she lies. Then, in the second film, you have this person who has all these great friends, but she doesn't tell them at all that she has a twin sister. And so you essentially have this character that's still around in Janelle Monáe's character, but she's the sister playing her other sister. So, yeah, it's interesting how you have those aspects there. And this one, I feel, has that a little bit less. But it also has, I guess, I mean, it has the jewel, but it has, like, God almost shining his light on the church at these opportune moments. In a moment I really, really love where Daniel Craig has entered the church and he's talking about everything he doesn't like about religion. He mentions homophobia. He also mentions that perhaps he has hit like a strange relationship with his mother who was religious, but the lighting in the church goes, it's like a cloud has come in front of it, so the lighting goes very dark, and then Father Judd starts talking about what the church means to him, and a bright light shines through, and that happens again later when Blanc is having his grand moment where he's going to explain what happened, and then essentially through like the light of God or something like that, like kind of convinces him, it convinces him not to do it, and he waits for Glenn Close to essentially confess her sins to Father Judd. So yeah, I guess that's kind of the closest thing to throwing up every time you tell a lie. It's very funny every time Benoit Blanc is just like, no, I won't stay around. He's like, he doesn't have any kind of need to hear the religious stuff from Judd.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, Josh O'Connor is quite funny throughout the film. Like, he jumps every time someone surprises him, and he'll swear, he'll say like, holy shit. And then, like, oh, sorry. Like, and he has moments like that throughout the film, and, it's funny. He was the host of SNL, a few weeks ago, and I really, I've actually liked the season of SNL, but I didn't think they had anything good for him. Like, unfortunately, it was a very disappointing episode. I didn't think it was Josh O'Connor's fault. I just didn't think they gave him particularly good material, and because of his role in Challengers, they did the 2 skits where he kissed a man, and I was kind of like, okay, you did the joke in 2 different things now. You can't do that. So, anyway, he's quite funny, but SNL didn't take the proper advantage of that, though. So, but I've enjoyed the season. Any final thoughts on Wake Up Dead Man?
No, I don't think so.
All right, perfect. Well, let's talk about a film that's going to be really, really big in a year's time, or right at the end of this year. It's time for the main event, Chris. Let's talk about the teaser trailers for Avengers Doomsday that have been out in the world so far.
Let's do it.
So yeah, basically what happened is that Marvel had been releasing a teaser trailer once a week for Avatar. So like theoretically, you can go to see Avatar one week, and then you go next week give Disney more of your money, and then you get a different trailer. And then they all leak, they all get bootleg versions online, and then a week later they're released publicly on the proper channels. But I guess just on that point, real quickly, what's even worse is that you can watch the bootleg trailer, and then because of the way AI technology is now, you don't get the trailer, but you get essentially screenshots in incredibly high definition, where you can see Ian McKellen there with his long hair in 4K, and it's like, well, I know this isn't a real leak. Like, this is essentially, you've given a blurry image to an AI machine, and they've given you a clear image. So that's a bit concerning. Like, there's one image in particular of Cyclops that I find funny, where they put a lot of detail into his suit, and they almost make it look like he's wearing the visor when he's like shooting off his portals to the punch dimension, as everyone is now referring to it as. Like, his eyes are portals to the punch dimension. But anyway, the AI image makes it look like he's still wearing the visor because it puts the line across his eyes. I was like, well, we know he's taking it off. Like, that's the whole point of that bit. So that's rough.
Mm.
But anyways, let's talk about the terrible Chris Evans trailer.
Yeah, it's definitely the worst one that we've seen so far.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess it's so clearly edited together due to the zero dialogue, and as in comparison, which is very clear to the other trailers, there's no dialogue. So this was intended to have people like hooting and hollering, cheering in the theater. Like, if this was a trailer that you put as like a mid-credit scene, or you showed it at Comic-Con, you might have had people cheering throughout it, so the silence wouldn't have mattered. But in this, it just comes across as kind of confusing, and it feels almost anticlimactic, which should not be the case for a major character returning. Mm-hmm. A major character who everyone was talking about after Endgame. Like, if I may, just quickly, like 6 years ago, everyone was talking about all the films you can make with Captain America. Like, oh, I want to see the film where he returns all the stones and he sees the Red Skull. Now he's back and people are sad. I just wanted to point that out. But anyway, it's interesting seeing this trailer where people are not that excited when it's the return of a major character, and it should be something that people are happy to see. But they've led their campaign with this trailer, so
that's what I was thinking. Now that we've seen all the trailers, like it's kind of shocking they did that one first. Like, I feel like that's what we want to save for last, because he's the only, from the trailers we've seen, he's the only like cast member that wasn't in the cast reveal a couple months back.
Yeah, I know, and I mean, look, I mean, Marvel in general has been. I mean, we've talked about Marvel countless times on this show, like how things have not been going so well for them. I mean, look, a lot of this has been out of their control. Like, they went through the pandemic. There's like the Disney mandates, so you gotta get a movie out this time. I mean, there's obviously Chadwick Boseman. There's Jonathan Majors. Like, I get that a lot has like altered their plans, but then what the current discussion I've been seeing a lot of is, well, I guess the Sam Wilson Captain America experiment failed for them. And it's like, I can kind of see that, because the only stories we've really told with Sam Wilson as Captain America is, oh, I don't know if I can be Captain America. Like, maybe if they told more stories than that twice, maybe we could have had a good chance at having a good Captain America. But it just feels desperate, if I'm being perfectly honest.
It totally feels desperate. Yeah, it's I don't know. I don't think we've gotten enough time with a lot of these new characters, and they're digging up old ones already, as if this is like Marvel's legacy sequel. And like Endgame, that came out like not even 10 years ago, and we're already doing that. Like, that first trailer did not like get me in the mood for this movie at all. It kind of set me back a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I've considered going through each of the phases and essentially, well, the post Endgame phases, I should say, and essentially redoing them in terms of what I would have done instead. Again, me, a guy sitting here on my chair at my computer desk. Like, I'm not as well off as Kevin Feige, but I think the introduction of Disney Plus at the time that Endgame was finished and they needed to do more stuff is part of the problem. I think if Disney Plus had been around a little while before that, they wouldn't have had to put on this onslaught of TV where you release 4 shows within a year. And yeah, I mean, look, I will comfortably say that I do have excitement for Endgame. Like, it's a film that I really want to see. Like, I'm intrigued by it. Or, did I say Endgame?
Endgame. I was confused.
Well, sure, I'll see Endgame again. Why not? I like that movie.
Yeah.
But no, I meant Doomsday. But I'm intrigued by Doomsday, in the sense that, I will see the film, and I'm intrigued by what they're going to be doing with all of this. And the third trailer certainly didn't hurt as well, the X-Men one.
Mm-hmm.
But the Thor trailer, to me, was a good example of, you have this character that's been around from almost the beginning. You give him this serious prayer that he's giving to Odin, and it even incorporates stuff from the last Thor movie that people didn't like, though, it made a lot of money and a lot of people saw it. The general opinion of it was that it wasn't their best work, and where you have Chris Hemsworth saying, like, I don't want this character to be a cartoon. Like, that you have to redo Thor a little bit. Like, you have to course correct him. So taking what was given to him where, one of his kids, essentially it was meant to be one of Christian Bale's children. You have this introduction. It's like, there's evil out there, and I want to protect her. It puts this seriousness back on Thor that I also felt was desperately needed. And had they led with that, I think this marketing campaign would have been viewed a little differently.
Mm-hmm.
But they led with the big announcement, which, yeah, it's just so odd.
Yeah, it is.
It would have made a lot more sense to go with Thor first, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But it did feel a little bit like with the X-Men trailer, it's like, okay, we need to get the geeks back on board with us. Like, let's give them something that they want to see. And because they lost their hardcore fans by trying to do something that brings the more casual fans back into it, it gets their interest by, like, here's a character that you already know coming back, by getting some of the geekier people involved, by, look how great Cyclops looks. That's where it changes some opinions with people.
Yeah, I think the only thing I could think of is that, like, whatever trailer they were going to start with, and this is what I'm afraid of, they're essentially saying, like, this is, most likely going to be your main character of the film, which is worrying if Cap is really going to be the main character of the film. I don't like this decision. There's no way, like, you do it and it's not mess.
I want to talk about the X-Men.
Okay.
Because obviously the X-Men are very important to us. I mean, the whole world knows X-Men is important to me, but, like, I also know you are an X-Men fan.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't expect to get a lot from the X-Men in this film, in terms of, like, a lot of character growth, but the whole idea of having the older X-Men, like, I think essentially is that they want to do something with the X-Men, and the way to do it is to grab all these people that play them in the films that exist, because those are the ones with history.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think they're going to have a different history in the timeline that we see them have in this film, which, I don't think will anger all the people with complaint about the X-Men movie timelines like they always do.
Yeah.
But I think, to me, it's just like, we're grabbing these guys more for familiarity, that we've seen them play them before, which, if that doesn't work for everyone, I actually do understand that. But at the same time, I think if you want to have Xavier, Magneto as incredibly old people, and then it's like the young heroes of the movie are, the new Avengers and stuff like that, like, I can see them doing it that way. But, at the same time, it's like, Robert Downey is not a young guy. Like, this is probably the last time you can do something like that with Chris Hemsworth or Chris Evans. Like, I don't think they'll be playing these guys much longer either. So this, I mean, not to turn a phrase, but this does actually feel like a last stand of sorts for the X-Men actors. Like, I don't think we'll see James Marsden and Ian McKellen and all these people in these roles much after this. So, I mean, to me, James Marsden wearing, like, the 90s costume is essentially just something like Wolverine wearing the yellow costume in Deadpool and Wolverine. It's just to make the fans happy, essentially. I don't really have a problem with that so much. I think it's interesting the shot that we see in the trailer where he essentially does the get off my lawn bit, and I assume he's blasting away sentinels because you can see one walking behind him.
Yeah.
And also the mansion's all trash. Like, don't know what happened there. It's like, oh no. It either someone takes over Cerebro or the mansion gets destroyed. Like, these are the two things that always happen to the X-Men. But how are you feeling about the X-Men in this?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. It is really cool to see Cyclops, and I do think he's going to play a pretty big role in the movie. I can't say that about all the X-Men. Like, I feel like Magneto, probably Professor X, they're going to be quick exits. But in terms of, I don't want to say the younger group, but like of the groups we have, the more youthful ones like Cyclops and like Nightcrawler, Mystique, I think they'll be around for a good chunk of the movie, and I'm excited for that. Because, yeah, it's like you were saying, it's like they want to do X-Men, but they don't have an established X-Men group yet. So it's like, okay, we're going to pull from maybe possibly the Fox universe. We still don't really know what this is going to be exactly. But, yeah, it'll be cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, it is odd that we've had a finale with the X-Men characters already with Days of Future Past.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have been fine with if that were the true finale of the X-Men, but I mean, we got Logan out of that at the same time, and then and then we got Deadpool and Wolverine. So, I don't know. I mean, for whatever reason, it's like, it's the clasp that the era of the X-Men in terms of the movies have on me. Like, those X-Men, like, that era, like, it has that grasp on my soul. Like, in a way. So to me, like, seeing that treated as something that excites people, like, that's meant to get you anticipated for a film, like, the first Marvel film that Kevin Feige worked on was X-Men. And I think it's essentially just him kind of closing off that era of the Marvel stuff as they've kind of incorporated a lot of this non-MCU stuff, like, the successful stuff into their universe. Like, that's kind of the last piece, like, because they've used Tobey Maguire and they've used Blade and they've referenced the Fantastic Four. It's like they've used all of those people that were successful elsewhere in their films now. I mean, technically they already have with X-Men, but it's also an opportunity to, hey, like, we should actually do something with Cyclops. And so, I don't know. I'm excited for it in that sense of, I mean, to be fair, I think Marsden is the one you can get away with it for. Like, I don't know what Alan Cumming is going to look like in this with the makeup, but when I see old Ian McKellen, I'm kind of like, oh, he's so old. Mm-hmm. Like, what could he possibly be doing? And I remember thinking that at the end of the Wolverine, like, where he shows up and you're like, oh gosh, like, not seeing him for 6 or 7 years in these movies, like, he looks a bit older. And yes, but, we had now over 10 years ago, we had the goodbye to the X-Men with Days of Future Past, and, like I said, I agree with the sentiment that probably should have been the last goodbye. And I love the Logan movie. And, even though there's elements that have been tainted by Deadpool and Wolverine, but standalone, I think that's a great film.
Mm-hmm.
But we've had the goodbye for these characters, so I don't disagree with a lot with that sentiment. But in terms of the X-Men always have these bad futures and things like that, I mean, hey, we'll probably see Xavier die again, so that's exciting.
Was it the third time?
Well, no, this is going to be fourth time, theoretically.
Oh, yeah, because of Mom.
Yep, yes. We saw him die in the MCU already. But, I mean, I guess they killed off the X-Men again in Deadpool and Wolverine. Like, they talk about how the X-Men are dead in there as well, so... I guess again, it's just like it's continuing. It's like, okay, we already killed them in the MCU. Let's just do something good with the ones that we like. So,
Yeah.
I mean, so are you excited for Doomsday? Final question. We kind of talked about this, but are you excited?
I would say I'm more excited than not, but I wouldn't say it's like I think Marvel hasn't got me excited in the way they've intended. Like I don't care. I don't like that Cap is coming back. We've talked about that. It's like a lot of like the big, what should be big shock moments that we've seen in the trailers haven't totally won me over. But really, I am curious just to see like how they juggle all of this. But one positive I will say is I love the cinematography that we've seen so far, especially compared to
Yeah, for
the
sure.
last time the Russos did a Marvel movie. It's like this is a big step up. That Thor teaser looked beautiful, and so I'm excited on that front more than anything.
Yeah, I mean, for right now, I am excited, but who knows? We see the film, the X-Men are on screen for 10 minutes, and I'm no longer that happy, but I don't know. I assume that that's not the case. I'm assuming that this will be a good send-off to some of the characters. I mean, they're not bringing back all of the X-Men characters, but I don't know. It's just like, whatever. Like, this is like a big Marvel event. Like, I'm just kind of like, yeah, let's see what they do. They already did their ending. That's another thing. We got the ending of the MCU. It was called Avengers Endgame, and yet it's still going. So I guess I'm at that point now. I was like, yeah, let's see what they do.
It's
There's been a lot of hits and misses, but I think in more recent time they've had a lot more hits.
yeah.
Like I thought they released two very good movies last year and a good season of television. So sure, I think from what we've seen so far of Spider-Man bootleg wise, that seems like an interesting story that they're telling there. So I have a little bit of interest in what they're doing next year.
Yeah, and it's weird because like we're not coming up with a lot of green flags about Doomsday, but at the end of the day, I mean, this is the Russos. They haven't steered us wrong with Marvel, so it's just who
Yeah.
knows what's gonna happen.
Last question I'll ask, and this is just pure speculation because I've joked about the lack of other X-Men characters in this movie, but do you think there's any legitimate reason to believe that they're saving them for the next one for Secret Wars? Like, do you think like Halle Berry and Famke Janssen could potentially show up in that versus this one? Because I do feel it's a little bit strange to not have them in. Like
Mhm.
that's the X-Men, Like it's weird to not have them in this. I'm not saying like, oh, they need to have them in or else, but like, do you think that that's what they could be doing?
I I I don't know. I think Halle Berry. I don't think she'll be in this, but I you could make a case for Jean Grey because of one of the popular theories of the movie is that this is going to be a lot about like fatherhood and dealing with a lot of kids. We already saw with the post credit scene. Doom is already with Franklin Richards, so you could introduce Cyclops and Jean's son, and do something with that. I don't know, but I do think we'll definitely get a bigger cast, not only in Doomsday, but obviously Secret Wars is going to be huge. But yeah,
It is what they could be doing. I mean, we could also be dealing with, again, we see Cyclops covered in muck, like, fighting away Sentinels in the mansion, all, with stuff everywhere. Like, it could be that we're dealing with mutants being killed off again.
mm,
So maybe they couldn't make deals with Famke Jensen and Halle Berry, and they didn't want to come back. I mean, I think that's entirely possible, but that's when you're like, okay, we'll bring back Mystique, because we can't bring back Halle Berry. But it could just be that, or it could be that they're saving them for the next one. I definitely think they're saving Hugh Jackman for the next one, but
mm,
I don't think he should have come back necessarily either. But it was interesting hearing him talk about how, like recently, how he knew he was done with Logan, and then there was just that itch to play the character again, and it's like the good idea in theory came up was presented for Deadpool and Wolverine,
mm,
and it gave him an opportunity to do it again due to seeing thinking that he and Deadpool would be a good combination for a film. And that movie made a lot of money. It made a lot of people happy. It wasn't our thing, but it made a lot of people happy. So
mm.
it's It's interesting when we talk about this stuff because we have to remove our own anticipation or excitement or our own enjoyment from these things because other people feel very differently. I don't know. This isn't really defense for Hugh Jackman, but it's like he's allowed to do whatever he wants. I mean, I think he thought he was going to get some award season nods for The Sun, and he was cutting his time doing a show on Broadway short in order to allow for the award season to happen, and he didn't get those nominations. And then it's like, okay, like he needs to change his career a little bit. And I mean, other things have happened in his life, so it was time to play Wolverine again. Like, I can understand where someone would get that. Like, then there's stuff like the Malcolm in the Middle revival. Like, why on earth is there a Malcolm in the Middle revival? Like, a while ago, it's like, you know, when they brought back Twin Peaks, like, you know, if they brought back Twin Peaks this year, actually that might be in poor taste, but if they brought back Twin Peaks a couple years ago, it would be like, okay, yeah, because everything's coming back. But in 2017, like, it didn't feel that way. It felt like, oh, great, David Lynch has a great idea for Twin Peaks now, but now everything gets brought back. Then it's like, yeah, of course Hugh Jackman came back. You know, these movies make more money now, so again, it's funny with like the Malcolm in the Middle thing, because in the middle of all of that, this is Bryan Cranston, who's become this big star post Malcolm in the Middle. Yeah, it's weird. It's all weird.
Yeah.
What else is there to say about Doomsday?
I can't really think of anything else.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't even talk about the last one that, I guess at the time of recording, hasn't been officially released yet. Any thoughts on that?
M'Baku and Thing, that's a great pairing.
Yeah.
I'm always excited to see M'Baku. He's always a joy. But yeah.
All right, well, Chris, where can people find you online?
Find me over on Instagram and Letterboxd.
Excellent. I am there as well, but you can also find my work on my editing work for Amazing Spider Talk on the YouTube channel and Spotify. We've got video up on Spotify now, so check it out there. I'm also on Blue Sky. Give me a follow if you like. So yeah, we'll see you all next time. Take care, everyone. Bye.